So I've been doing PI, personal injury marketing, for almost 19 to 20 years. Like Dr. Tony said, I started back in Minnesota in an office in Golden Valley, which is in the Twin Cities area. And long and short of it, my chiropractor, who was also a really good friend of mine, was his income would go up, and then it would go down, and it would go up, and it would go down, you know, and he'd stress out when it was like going down. And I thought, okay, how do we handle that problem for you? Because he was a good friend of mine. And I'd been a patient of chiropractic, but I'd never ever, I didn't know anything about the business end of it. So I said, how do you make your money, was the first question. And he said, well, the best paying clients are work comp and PIs. And I'm like, what are those, right? So after getting indoctrinated into what they were, I said, well, where do we get them? And he goes, well, there's some office down south of the cities here that's doing something. He told me their name. So I called the marketing girl and I said, what are you doing? And she told me what they were doing, and she said, but it's not working. And I'm like, okay, good. Why don't you mail me over what you're doing and let me take a look at it? So she did, and I looked at the piece that was being sent over that they were mailing out to car accident victims, and I would have never in myself a million years responded to that exact piece that they were sending out. It was a expensive piece. It had an 8-page glossy brochure in it. I got rid of that. So I whittled it down to like 2 pieces of paper, and then I did mailings. And so to back up what that means is I physically drove to every station in the Twin Cities. Well, at that time, it wasn't that many. It was about 8, 9, handful of stations. And I would pick up the names and addresses of car accident victims. Okay? And then I would hand address envelopes. And in Minnesota at that time, you could also do a follow-up phone call. So I'm trained in marketing, like Dr. Tony said, and I'm also trained in business administration, such as statistical analysis. So I kept track of my stats of number of mailings out, number of phone calls out, number of people coming in. And after about 6 months, I had the business office manager come to me holding up a stat graph that was out the roof, PI billing, and realized I didn't pay attention to anything else in the clinic. I was just continuing to push on what I was doing. And the statistical graph went way, 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 way up and stayed in that range. And he goes, what are you doing? And I told him what I was doing, and pretty much he was like, the water's parted for you. Like, okay, good, whatever you need to help you do that more, and da-da-da. That was literally how I started the business.